Hello, everyone. This is Martin Gershon with another session of Better Health. This is our third session, and we have an incredible speaker today. Trey Bowles, who is the managing director at Techstars down in Texas, who is going to be with us for this interactive session where we're going to be talking about an overview of what incredible things are happening, accelerating AI and innovative technologies. One of the things that's important in this process is to understand what the drivers are. And before I get into the discussion here today, I want to first encourage everybody to please comment. We want this to be an interactive webinar. We will respond to all of your comments, whether it's live or whether it's through email. And I have put my email down on the ticker tape. In addition to that, you can subscribe to our newsletter and events letter, which will give you updates by emailing us at subscribe@gershoncapital.com. I also want to take this time to thank our collaboration partners. Capgemini has absolutely been fantastic in the process, both at Capgemini Invent and Capgemini Applied Innovation Exchange. And I want to thank McGill University and particularly the research that's being done at the CLIP Center. So I'd like to kick this off by looking at one aspect of this incredible field of healthcare and life science investment. There's been $100 billion so far in the past few years put into healthcare investment and life science investment, which is a really new movement and an exciting force to drive innovation and technology in what I consider a new secular growth investment cycle in healthcare and life sciences. And there's several reasons that we're going to talk about this and what this means to you as a patient, as a person who's interested in health and wellness. It means that tech with deep pockets, long-term commitments, leveraging their core competencies and moving fast in terms of their decisions to invest is driving healthcare investment, and CEO entrepreneurs are taking advantage of this incredible liquidity push. So Trey, I know that you are at the forefront of incredible companies that are addressing many of these healthcare unmet needs and that are looking at these areas where tech is investing. The four hot areas of big data, wearable sensors and home diagnostics, drug discovery, and digital health. I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about what you see big picture, because this is a platform for discussion in this webinar for future open discussions about the direction of healthcare innovation and technology, particularly focused on AI, and particularly focused on emerging companies, which is really your specialty.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Martin. It's great to be on the show with you and to be discussing such exciting and really important topics. And so what I would say kind of generally is I think we've seen a big transition in the last few years. It was a lot of it was due to COVID and the global pandemic. Because I believe that the acceleration rate of the adoption of digital health solutions, big data, some of these home diagnostics, these things that were forced into existence because of the fact that we were all sheltering at home, saw amazing growth in the last few years and really just skyrocketed past where way faster than they would have gotten there normally, but really skyrocketed past where we ever thought they could be. It's creating unbelievable opportunity. It's creating more and more entrepreneurs coming into the space and solving these problems. And in a lot of cases, you have business people coming in and addressing healthcare problems, because healthcare, for the first time in my lifetime, has really become about personalization. And that's what the big data component does for you, being able to take data that we have and really personalize medication, personalize service, personalize the ability to go and and do a lot of the stuff that we do from home, not even in the doctor's office or the clinic directly. And drug discovery is only going to become more and more, I think, economical, and I think it'll be more and more personalized in the end. So I'm really bullish on what we're seeing in the market right now, and I'm super excited about the types of innovation and disruption I'm seeing in healthcare in general.
I couldn't agree with you more. And let's take a look at some of the drivers that are moving this disruption forward very briefly from a financial perspective, because I think that's an important piece in understanding that there's a tremendous amount of liquidity that's coming into these four hot areas of healthcare, and particularly driven by Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. So here is the bull case for healthcare. It is a combination of incredible disruptive scientific and medical innovations and business fundamentals, which are moving a macroeconomic secular growth market. Let's take a look very, very briefly at some of the statistics that look at what happens in a down market. Historically, healthcare always outperforms. And whether we're in a recession or in a liquidity crisis, which is what I believe we're in, which means a long-term, slow-moving process, as opposed to recession, which usually lasts under 18 months, we can see that there are corrections based upon these data that need to take place before any type of normalization of a market. During that period of time, healthcare is likely to outperform. Let's take a look at some of the data by McKinsey to support this. There's a $4.4 trillion healthcare market in the United States, and there's 5 to 10x greater liquidity that's being put into this, according to McKinsey, by big tech companies. In addition to this, there is a friendly Food and Drug Administration. I am a former Food and Drug Administration attorney and a CEO of a clinical research organization. And I can tell you right now that the FDA is looking to approve both devices and drugs in an exceedingly fast rate. And finally, there's pricing power. Pricing power with new drugs that are addressing rare diseases and genetic therapies is really an incredible area of growth. And lastly, market size. So the market size is growing both in terms of traditional demographics as well as new health and wellness demographics, which open up all kinds of possibilities. And with that, I'd like to again go back to Trey and see what you're seeing, on the ground in terms of early stage investments as it pertains to some of these new dynamics. We talked about the personalization of healthcare. What about also the personalization of wellness? What do you see in that area with wearable sensors, fitness, and things that are promoting health and well-being?
Well, I think another thing that we realized during the pandemic was that we needed to focus on our overall wellness. And because of the technologies that are being integrated into healthcare, it's giving us the ability to actually do that and accomplish that. And so when we look at sort of the opportunities that exist, the focus on wellness and the way we can take it from there, we saw our overall health and wellness as individuals and as consumers go from top 15 priorities in our life to now in the top four. And so what that's doing is that's going to direct a lot of where our discretionary income and spending is going to. It's going to focus on where we spend our time. It's really going to change the way we view our lives. And so things like that happening increase the awareness that people have of what's out there and really help us kind of go out and look for the latest and greatest solutions to help approach a holistic lifestyle as it pertains to health and wellness.
It's kind of a flywheel. The healthier you get, the more you want to be healthy. And I certainly think that there has been an equalizer, across the globe in terms of how impact has changed our value sets. So I completely agree with you. And I see, mental health, for example, is a tremendous growth area that I and Endeavor funds are keenly interested in. So let's take a look concretely at what some of the big tech companies are doing and the spaces that they're carving out in these verticals. So first, Apple is focused in on wearable sensors and digital health. They're looking at personalized home healthcare, health and wellness, online fitness, home diagnostics, and even integrated hospital monitoring. This is a shift from hospital and office care to home care. It is empowering the patient. It is driven by healthcare economics, and the technology supports this shift. Let's take a quick look at some of the things that Tim Cook has had to say. He believes that Apple really, when it's looking at healthcare, sees it as its greatest legacy. And Morgan Stanley predicts that Apple will produce $313 billion of sales within the next few years. So Trey, again, speaking about what you see in Techstars, the entrepreneurs that are coming to you, what do you see in this area that really speaks to what does this mean for individuals? What does it mean for the people who are watching now in terms of their day-to-day lives?
Well, I think it's an extension of what we've seen just in the consumer market in general, right? Everything that we have done over the last 20 or 30 years has been focused on personalization around us, making life easier for us, solving problems for us. And now this is just moving over into the healthcare market. And I think, as you see here with Tim Cook's approach to what he believes this will do for Apple, it's really integrating the entire process. It's really just to your point earlier when we talk about tech companies getting involved in this, they're figuring out how to take the data that they have access to and leverage that in healthcare, which is going to be a game changer for all of us. And so what we will see is opportunities to not only to build upon what Apple's doing, what Microsoft's doing, what Google's doing, and all the others, but it'll create new innovations that can integrate anywhere along that pathway to personalization. And I think what we'll begin to see is if even the healthcare industry, does not move forward towards personalization in a way that people like Apple and some of these other tech companies are, they're going to be left behind. They're going to be forced to keep up to speed with the technological advancements that we're seeing. And I think that's what I'm seeing with the entrepreneurs that I'm talking to on a day-to-day basis is how are they bringing in solutions to add on sort of what I like to call little I innovation, as opposed to some of the really, really amazing big I innovations like going to Mars and doing things like that. Those iterative growth opportunities are super important. But what we're seeing right now is a revolutionary change in healthcare and how we do that and approach that, which is going to create more and more opportunity for disruption and innovation, both now and well into the future. Which is why I think you're seeing the sort of the projections that you're seeing from some of these companies out there about the size of the market, how it's going to grow, and what kind of opportunities exist there.
Couldn't agree with you more. And just as a bit of a harbinger of things to come, in 2 weeks, we're going to be having an incredible company called MetaLoop, which focuses in on this space out of the Stanford campus. And we'll tell you more, but they are integrating Apple Watch into all kinds of information gathering using AI platforms, which is really going to be a game changer. And I'm excited about bringing them on board on the 28th. So just a quick snapshot, and these slides will be available for people, after the webinar. As Trey was saying, Apple really is creating an ecosystem looking at wearable sensors, home diagnostics, personal training, and hospital patient monitoring. Some of the things that they're doing, in this area, I think speak to day-to-day activities. And again, concretely, they are looking at generating hundreds of billions of dollars from these services, according to McKinsey report. They're looking at developing relationships with important companies like Sanofi that has vocal biomarkers to detect COVID. Companies like Cordio, which is looking at congestive heart failure. By simply talking into your iPhone, you should be able to monitor the extent in which your medications are impacting or not impacting your disease. Companies like 3EO, which are bringing high-level PCR level investigation grade testing to the home, which allows, again, patients to be empowered by their own data. And then finally, companies like Parky and H2O Therapeutics looking at diseases in the neuroscience space, like Parkinson's disease. So Trey, this is an incredibly hot area. What kind of companies do you see that are integrating some of these at-home integrative services with iOS systems, with wearable sensors that might have a real meaningful impact on people's lives?
Well, so I can speak specifically to some of the companies I've looked at. In my particular focus of physical health, we look at a lot of physical rehabilitation, physical therapy, musculoskeletal related companies. And what we're seeing is, and again, this goes back to sort of what COVID did to the healthcare market. We're seeing the evolution of some specific CPT codes that are out there and existing to help support reimbursement in healthcare. And so we've talked, you often hear a lot about remote patient monitoring, but one of the new CPT codes is around remote therapeutic monitoring.
Mhm.
And that goes back to what you were talking about before, which is home health related solutions. And so I'm seeing companies come in and trying to get into the home and doing it in a way that's really fascinating and marginal to what is currently existing. So they're not trying to take existing solutions and services out of the process or out of commission, right? Rather than, we're not trying to go to clinics and say, look, we don't need a physical therapist at all anymore. No, we're adding to that marginal value that can be used to create new forms of compliance. So about 70% of people that do physical therapy don't complete their program. And by being able to leverage these technologies, these solutions, but whether it be video and camera solutions or at home protocols around training, support, and education, accountability, things like that. We're really starting to see some opportunities for growth, reimbursement coming in at the CMS level at Medicaid and Medicare, which obviously trickles down into the private payers, but really is beginning to see the opportunity there. We're also seeing advances in biomarketing. One of our companies has a biomarketing solution that, rather than going around your wrist like a wearable, gets made into your glasses. 77% of people over the age of 55 in the world wear glasses. And so it becomes a fundamental way and place to meet people where at, utilize the solutions and the reality that they live in there, that they have going on in their life, and making those changes. And as we see longevity in people's lives, people living longer, and trying to figure out what sorts of solutions can we integrate into their lives to make life easier and better for longer, you're going to continue to see opportunities all along that spectrum. And which is why I think digital health, digital therapeutics are so hot right now. And we'll continue to see things like this coming into the market in the future, because it's going to be the norm in healthcare for a lot of our patient needs. And a lot of the other things you like about that is, as these new technologies are being built and coming out, they're focusing heavily on value-based care. They're focused heavily on patient outcomes being a key driver,
Mhm.
which is really exciting and innovative in itself. And I think will take the healthcare industry where it wants to go, where it's going to see solutions. And the only way you can really drive and understand and prove value-based care is through the data that's existing out there. We're going to continue to see that, I think, be refined and effective in the way that we operate and integrate with our um, care providers across the healthcare network and system.
I completely agree. I would add to that that, if you extend that out, it just is kind of a very clear stake in the ground that there is a shift across every sector: pharma, biotech, med tech, health and wellness, and that this shift is being accompanied by, government response, whether it's on the billing side or on the grant side. And so this shift is, I think, just the beginning of a multi-year process. Let's take a look a little bit about um, some of the things that Google is doing. So Google is really using AI and big data in a number of different ways. Obviously, that's their core competence. They're looking at precision medicine. They're looking at 3D printing and regenerative medicine. They're looking at organs on a chip and CRISPR technology, which is an advanced technology for gene editing. And let's take a look at some of the things that they've done. So they have clearly made healthcare a major part of their investment
Mhm.
protocol. They believe right now that their future is in large part tied to the integration of their core IT services into healthcare. And what they've done is made 250 investments over the past few years, leveraging their core competency. And now over half of the Google Ventures team is healthcare focused, with a tremendous track record, by the way. So let's take a look at some of these things. And I know, Trey, you feel strongly about precision medicine and personalized medicine. One of the core companies that Google has brought, to the spotlight is Verily. And this company is addressing the use of big data to personalize things such as diabetes. And so they are working with Onduo. They are working with other companies to personalize healthcare. They are working, taking a look at other chronic diseases. They are looking at things that are also treatable diseases such as colon cancer and skin cancer. They have in-house technology using C2D2, which was a homegrown technology to integrate endoscopy into AI services to improve diagnostic accuracy. And they're looking at the dermatology space, looking at diagnosing skin cancer early. So again, Trey, how does this integrate into what you're seeing and the enthusiasm by the entrepreneurs that are in, your field of vision? There's a lot of incredible universities within your area. And I was wondering whether some of the entrepreneurs are integrating some of their growth strategies with some of the research driven work that's at the universities, or how are they looking at using the incredible resources at Techstars, which is probably a broader question, because Techstars, first and foremost, is about a global network of experts and entrepreneurs. We are aligned, Endeavor and Techstars, on the importance of partnerships and collaboration and bringing the right people to the table. So if you could talk a little bit about that ecosystem and how that's kind of feeding into this big data, AI, and diagnostic space, that would be great.
Well, what I've seen in the last couple of years is that whereas traditionally you might see more science-based, research-based solutions coming out, which there still are there, and those are exceptionally important. But because the overall awareness of the need for, precision health and AI-driven solutions, data-based solutions out there, you're seeing more and more business people get into this space. And so business people are finding a healthcare issue that is particularly relevant to them or someone near to them, a loved one or whatnot, and they're coming up with these solutions. But what they lack is the scientific validation of that idea, right, or of that solution. And so that becomes an important part. On the other side, what we're seeing inside the university space is people creating research and trying to figure out how do you commercialize that. And oftentimes, by pairing a scientist, a researcher, a doctor with a business person, you're able to create business models that make sense, business models that are scalable and sustainable. And so we're seeing things like that happen inside Techstars. We have programs all over the world. We have multiple healthcare focused programs, and we are working together to leverage the vast network that we have of over 750,000 people to really derive the right sorts of connectivity, from a mentor to an alum who's been through a program, to an investor who is looking for the latest and greatest, to business development opportunities, clinics, hospital systems, healthcare systems, healthcare companies, to really figure out how do we help this company or this idea, this founder, this entrepreneur that is coming up with something that's going to change the way we view medicine and health for women. How do we help that entrepreneur find her tribe, all the people that can be really helpful and so supportive to her? And so Techstars' job as a network driven environment is to pull along those right people to help accelerate the process that it takes you to launch your business. I often say we don't necessarily help a company that's not going to be successful. That happens, but that's not really what we're here to do. We're here to take a company and accelerate the time that it takes them to launch. Because as you know, or the enemy of a startup is time. And if you don't generate revenue or you don't raise capital to help yourself grow, you're going to run into the reality that a lot of really good ideas sometimes just don't make it off the page. It doesn't actually get to market. And because we're seeing such a saturation of people entering the healthcare space now, you've got to find a way to differentiate yourself. A network driven approach is a great one because you can leverage relationships to get the right place. Finding the right researcher inside of a university so you can really understand the science behind and the research behind making an idea work, while also connecting with the right tech minded engineering focus so that they can make sure you're collecting the right data to build the right AI and machine learning systems to really differentiate your offering from what else is out there. So it is like you said before, it's an ecosystem of different people coming together, a village that's making these companies work and grow.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the message is it's a dynamic time where people are looking to do things together, and they realize that, the world is a small place, and being able to reach out. And maybe that's an offshoot also of the COVID mentality that, people are staying at home, they are using technology more, and they're using it effectively. So let's take a look also at some of the things that Google is doing in drug discovery very quickly. We had a terrific conversation with Broderick Jones and with Mike Raffaello about 3D printing. And now, we're taking a look at that, but also organs on a chip and CRISPR and real world data are a focus of Google, again, playing into its core strengths. And we discussed in our first seminar, webinar, the impact that this can have on the healthcare economics aspect, dropping drug costs from 2.5 billion over a 12.5 year span of development to 700 million or less within 6 years or less. One of the things that we should look at is who is actually doing this. So Google is making an investment into all kinds of companies that are promoting this. One of them is Organovo. They have developed an incredible miniature kidney. One of them is focusing in on organ on chip technology, and Emulate is really a leader in this space where there's actually a functional utilization of the combination of microchip technology and true organ functionality. There's also a tremendous focus on new CRISPR technology, which is a technology which is gene editing and allows companies to look at rare diseases, which are very often fatal. And this new technology is accompanied by FDA approval for incredible pricing power, upwards of $2.8 million. And one of the leaders in this area, which is also being invested by Google, is Bluebird Bio. Bluebird Bio has a number of different products in the pipeline that's going to come out over the next several years. So we can really see this as a tip of the iceberg. Now, in this area, Trey, what do you see in terms of integrating some of these advanced, very sophisticated technologies that we've just talked about into some of your, entrepreneurs and the climate? It is a longer time to market. It does cost more money. And so with the liquidity crisis right now, where do you see some of these rolling out? Are you getting any pushback, or is this still going, forward in a pretty meaningful way?
Well, the interesting thing that we're seeing, much like many other people because of the market, is that it's a difficult time to raise money. And what that means typically for accelerators is that we get access to deals that we might otherwise not been able to get access to because people need that a little bit of extra help. Those outside valuations that we were seeing in the market for many years kind of hit that bubble, and that bubble's burst. And so we tend to do more tech related stuff more than drug development. So we would look for companies that are coming on the tech side to support, the CRISPR revolution that's happening and the sort of the innovations that we're seeing there. Because we invest early and we invest about 120 grand in each company, those bigger, longer term solutions are not ones you typically see come through Techstars, but that's why Techstars is so focused on the tech side of that. And so anything that we can do to find companies that could be additive, as I mentioned before, all along the process that we're seeing Apple and some of these tech companies build out are huge opportunities for companies to integrate, interface, develop APIs, and utilize and add additive solutions and technologies to take the data that's there, refine it, utilize it, and figure out new ways to apply it. That's what I think is really going to be exciting for us on the Techstar side as we
Mhm.
look at some of these, amazing innovations that grow out. And then to your point, take a little bit longer to commercialize and a lot more money, in fact, to do that.
And one of the things that brings Techstars and Endeavor together is the notion that there is a pipeline, there is a conduit within the ecosystem, that Endeavor has built out through accelerators, through universities, through angel groups, through venture groups, and now, most importantly, corporate accelerators. And we will have a meaningful conversation over the next several weeks about the important role that corporate accelerators are playing so that they can come in early and provide that long-term liquidity for companies that are doing important things like Bluebird Bio and other
Hmm.
companies that are growing. So Techstars, provides this incredible, rich, fertile ground for young entrepreneurs to gain traction, to grow, to build relationships. And it's then feeding into this pipeline of opportunities and collaboration partners that really, I think, is quite unusual in the world of investing. And it's going to drive this for years. Let's take a look at Microsoft. So Microsoft is really, again, using their core competencies in AI and machine learning and big data, focused in on electronic healthcare records, treatment algorithms, diagnostics, and billing. They're also looking at drug discovery, as we saw from the Google standpoint. And some of the things that really are outstanding is in terms of the leadership at Microsoft. So Satya Nadella has made it very, very clear that they are going to dominate the electronic healthcare record space. They're going to look at new treatment algorithms from gathering this information, and that this is transformative and disruptive technology. They made their second biggest purchase in their history, just to underscore this, with a company called Nuance. $19.6 billion acquisition in a voice recognition company that takes patient doctor relationships to a whole new level. You can go in and see your doctor, and the doctor does not have to spend time on his computer or in front of a screen. He can be focused on you as a human being.
Hmm.
Greater empathy, greater focus, greater attention to detail. And this also allows integration of these electronic healthcare records into pharmacies, into diagnostic algorithms. And as you will see from MediLoop in a few weeks, next level outgrowth of that is already happening, where wearable centers are going to be integrated into this whole process. Trey, I know that precision medicine is really one of your core focuses. And perhaps you can spend a little bit of time talking about some of the companies that you see in this space, because they're doing incredible things, whether it's drug discovery or, in this case, with Path AI and Microsoft, pathology, which is improving the diagnosis precision rate and reducing the error rate.
Yeah, so we saw this to some degree in a few of our companies. One company in particular called Wellist, developed by a former Apple and Intel product manager, is really focused on doing just that, figuring out and creating a very strong understanding through data of the patient, so that that can integrate with the different doctors that they're seeing, and then plays out in a really interesting way at the consumer level, which is, this is what you should be eating, this is what you should be doing for your workout, this is what things you should be doing based upon all this information that we know and have about you, to create sort of a personalized journey for the consumer and do
Mhm.
it in a way that's AI driven. And so you almost have an AI coach there, pulling the data in that you're providing, pulling other data sources in that they have, and really customizing an approach for you in an app. And it's one of the most innovative things I've seen in this space. But really had a good investment in technology to build that out. But being able to begin to pull that data together, create that personalized solution, that precision medicine approach will allow for better diagnoses of things that are happening and what could be the course or source of some of your issues, but also preventative in so many ways to try to help you not even have to go through those diagnoses at any point in the process.
I couldn't agree with you more. The whole area of precision medicine is just exploding. And as you said, there are these different subsectors. Ultimately, it's going to impact how your life goes forward. Less time in doctor's offices, less time in hospitals, more personal home capabilities, more telemedicine, which brings us kind of to the next, level of discussion, which is Amazon. So Amazon clearly is the behemoth in digital health, focusing in on primary care, telemedicine, healthcare insurance, and digital pharmacy services. And, you know, they have put a stake in the ground where they have made some significant investments over the past few years. One of them is One Medical for almost $4 billion. Again, making a very clear statement that they're going to have a hybrid integrative service of web-based and on-the-ground based services. This speaks to what you were talking about, Trey, which is the personal quality of the healthcare experience is changing. And, and so as an investor, I look for thematic drivers that have a fundamental growing market size, pricing power, collaboration partners, and liquidity. And certainly this area, carries a lot of weight in all of those areas. In Texas, are there systems in place, or are there entrepreneurs in place who are addressing this kind of hybrid primary care focus with telemedicine, on the ground services, or even specialty care services which integrate into this, such as a company here in New York, which was addressing women's healthcare needs called Kindbody?
Yeah, we're seeing companies do this. It's really, again, as I kind of said before, figuring out areas where you can integrate along that pathway to health and that personalized journey. And so when you see a company like Amazon who can come in and buy, an organization like One Medical that's across the country, that creates, in my mind, often just another access point to the data that they're able to bring in and utilize and customize to the personalization of the patient. And so when we see the companies that we're looking at, right, as we always talk about them being innovative and disruptive, if they're not looking at a way to integrate along this process and provide personalized solutions, they're probably not going to be relevant enough for us to pay a lot of attention to them. But somehow coming into the space, I mean, you look at PillPack, which is an Amazon company, also is a Techstars company, went to Techstars back in 2013. We saw early enough, even back then, what was happening and growing, and that's just a perfect example. Of PillPack was in Techstars in 2013, and just recently got purchased a few years ago by Amazon. We're seeing that stuff way before it gets to a place where it's an acquisition target out there, but really recognizing and understanding even more so that founders and entrepreneurs are recognizing where they think this market could go, in a lot of ways helping lead us there. And now what's happening is you're seeing companies like Amazon and Microsoft and Google and whatnot get to a place where they're catching up with some of those innovations and being able to think through that process and being able to look at where the market's going and come up with solutions on what they should acquire, what they should invest in. You mentioned earlier corporate accelerator programs, corporate venture capitalist programs is a way to find what might be next. And so that's what we're looking for, really a tip of the spear as to maybe the bleeding edge of where technology is going to go, where data usage is going to go. And so almost all the companies that we're seeing have a component of AI built into them, whether it's healthcare or otherwise across the Techstars network. Because really, as you and I know, that's really just what we saw back in the emergence of the dot-com days. Was some people were, for the first time, really being able to collect data. Some people were even keeping that data and storing it, and very few people were looking at that data and making educated
Yep.
and informed decisions on what they should be doing. That's really what AI is. We put a fancy word on it. It's how are you utilizing data to create customization about your product or services. And I think that's what we see a lot of Techstars, what we'll continue to see, especially as we look at the future of healthcare.
That's a great overview. One of the other pieces um, that has come up, in the past year, is the notion of a venture studio. And so I would want to talk about one particular venture studio, which is run by Andrew Ng out of California, who is the founder of Coursera, who's doing just an incredible job of focusing in on really deep dive assistance with AI driven companies in his new fund called the AI Fund. I think that these different business models, whether it's corporate accelerators or venture studios, they speak to the issue of impassioned leaders who see different business models, whether it is the deep dive that Andrew is doing with a core number of companies, or whether it's a broader sweeping, multiple company investment portfolio in corporate accelerators like Sanofi, Capgemini, Orange, and Generali have made 80 investments now in a digital platform out in Paris, the last one being $1.2 billion. So there's a lot of money at the tail end of this spectrum that's driving this in a sustainable way. And so whether it's people like Andrew at, uh, focusing in on AI, or whether it's companies that are partnering like Sanofi, one of the things that's embedded in this is longevity. And that's why I call this a secular growth cycle.
Mm,
Let's take a look really at the over big picture. What we have talked about is investments from big tech into healthcare and life sciences that have changed business models in big pharma, biotech, medtech industries. And it is my personal belief that this is just the beginning of a new secular growth industry in healthcare and life sciences. It's driven in part right now by the big tech companies because of incredible liquidity, incredible speed, clear exit strategies. But now, as we just talked about, there's other business models that are being put into place so that companies that come out of Techstars, that work with Endeavor, that work with other groups as collaboration partners, have a conduit and a funnel so that they are not going to hit the valley of death. They are going to move through the system with a greater sense of seamless integration. And that, I think, speaks to a healthier world, faster products to market for patients, both on the illness and on the wellness side. And I personally am all in on this. And I know that Trey and I have spent time talking about the passion that we share for healthcare and entrepreneurs. I want to leave the last word to Trey because I know we could talk about this for hours together. Um, please give us
yeah.
your overview and your thoughts about this movement.
Well, I think the interesting thing ultimately is that for the first time in healthcare, we're not only looking at a top-down approach where healthcare is delivering, service to us, and we're for the most part having to accept it to consume it. Right? We're seeing a bottom-up approach now that the consumer, now that the patient can really be integrated into that process. It opens up an entirely new world, which will allow for innovation, disruption. It will allow for patients to call and require a higher level of service for better patient outcomes, for higher levels of accountability. And I think when we meet in the middle on that is where we're going to see some of the transformational technologies and innovations that you're seeing through these companies. These companies, we always laugh, but these companies at one point were startups. All of them, right? Remember when Amazon
Exactly.
just sold books, right? I remember when Google was never going to be able to put Yahoo out of business or compete with Yahoo. They're all innovations that are happening and have happened. And so they recognize the importance of these innovative solutions and whatnot. But I really do believe that now that we have the patient involved, the consumer involved, and they're thoughtful, as we said before, they're focused on their overall health and wellness, They're willing to go find ways to not only be more healthy, but also finding preventative solutions, solving problems before they emerge, which will continue to contribute to the longevity we're seeing in life. People living longer, feeling better, and as long as we're feeling better, living longer is a great thing. And so I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. I think companies like this are some of the ones doing great things, but what I get excited about is what happens when these little companies start to grow up and become the big companies, and what are the innovations that they're finding. What entrepreneur right now is sitting in his or her dorm room thinking about what will be the next, Amazon, the next Google of healthcare. And so I think as we look forward to that, it's just an exciting time to be in healthcare. To your point, as you said before, I love working with founders that are making our lives better, right? They have a
Mm-hmm.
personal conviction
100%.
behind why they're addressing this, and making our lives better, and getting to be a part of that, getting to see inside the minds and the workings behind entrepreneurs that are out there doing these amazing things to make a difference in the world, and putting in mind the consumer, putting in mind the healthcare and the safety that needs to be, um, you know, viewed and observed as they go through this process. I couldn't be more excited about where I think healthcare is going. Appreciate you having me on your show,
Oh,
and all the work that you're doing to support entrepreneurs, researchers, university attendees, and your partners as well. So thanks for that.
it's been a fantastic 45 minutes, and it's a perfect segue. For those people that are enjoying this, please consider subscribing. It's for free. We give you updates. Just email us at subscribe@gershoncapital.com, and we'll send you updates about the events and also about healthcare innovation. One of the things that I want to encourage is for people to contact me. So here is my information, both LinkedIn and email. If you are a CEO, entrepreneur, and starting up a company at whatever stage of development, and ultimately believe that your company is going to make a difference in the world and growing and commercializing and scaling that to potential unicorn status, we are here to support that. Both Trey and Techstars and myself and Endeavor, McGill and Capgemini, we offer up a number of different ways to assist, whether it's mentoring or workshops or lab space. We also open up the opportunity for an interactive process to have you on the webinar and interact with people like Trey. In the future, we will have some level of interaction between early stage companies and seasoned investors like Trey, to be continued, and stay tuned for this new evolving process of Better Health weekly webinar series. I want to thank Trey and Techstars. I want to thank Capgemini and McGill. It's been an incredible 45 minutes. You're an amazing audience. I see the questions coming in. We will respond to those questions. I'm looking forward to next week, where we're going to have Bill Hazelton on. He's the father of the Human Genome Project, and he's going to be talking about advances in COVID therapies, next generation vaccines. So please stay tuned next Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, audience. I look forward to our next webinar. Bye-bye.